All right. So here's what I like to do in the beginning, Jason. I've been using ChatGPT-4, and what I do is I ask it, I said, who is Jason Blume and what are some of his accomplishments? And you ready for what we get back?
I hope so.
Jason Blume is a prominent figure in the music industry, known primarily for his work as a songwriter. He has penned hits for a variety of artists, including Britney Spears, the Backstreet Boys. One of his notable accomplishments is writing the tracks Dear Diary for Britney Spears and It's All About You for the Backstreet Boys, which have helped cement his reputation in pop music. Beyond songwriting, Jason Blume is also recognized for his contributions to music education. He has written several books on the subject, including 6 Steps to Songwriting Success, The Business of Songwriting, and Inside Songwriting. These books are considered valuable resources for aspiring songwriters. Additionally, he conducts workshops and seminars, sharing his expertise to help nurture new talent in the industry. That's what it says.
It was close. It was good, actually, until we got to the Backstreet Boys. I've never heard of the song It's All About You. The song I wrote on the Backstreet Boys Millennium album is called Back to Your Heart.
Got it. So a slight correction in ChatGPT world.
I'll tell you what else that's missing that's interesting is any mention of country music. I've had, I think, 6 singles on the country charts. So it doesn't mention that I'm one of the only writers that had singles at the same time on country, pop, and R&B charts. That's something that's in a lot of the resumes, so I'm surprised it didn't pick that up.
Really quickly, in case people don't know a lot about you or your background, obviously we just learned what we learned from ChatGPT, but can you tell me, let's just hear maybe like 5 highlights on the songwriting side really quickly that you're really proud of and that people might recognize. And then I want to also hear about your experience in the A&R side as well. But why don't you hit me with a few things from your high watermark list, if you will.
Sure. I would say the song I'm most proud of is not one of my biggest earners, and a lot of people don't know it, although it was a major country song. It's a song called She's Gonna Fly. I think it's the best song I've ever written. And if your listeners are curious to check it out, the version that slays me is Colin Ray live with the Salt Lake Symphony. And wow, it's just, one of those songs that when I finished writing it with my co-writer, Karen Taylor Good, we said to each other, oh my God, I love this song so much. And it'll never get cut. It was so not commercial. It's a song about Alzheimer's. It's a song about why elderly people would lose their senses, would lose so much of what's important to their lives, and why a loving God might do that. And the song has brought so much comfort. It's played at funerals. It's played at churches. There are so many songs that I've had recorded. And do I think they're my best songs, the songs that, deeply came from my heart? Not necessarily, but I'm really proud to have been able to write the songs that hit the target. When I'm writing, or when I was writing for Britney Spears, I'm not writing for catharsis. I'm not writing to, express something deep in my heart. I'm writing, trying to imagine what I can say that's going to touch her target audience of 12-year-olds, 10-year-olds, that kind of thing. And I'm proud that I'm able to get myself, or was able to get myself, into that mind space, that everything I write doesn't need to be deep and heavy and intense. I'm grateful that during all the years that I struggled, I acquired techniques, I acquired craft along the way. These were some of the biggest selling albums of all time, and they changed my life. The other song that really had just such a huge impact because it led to everything. And there's a lesson in how the song was written. Here's the deal. I was in Los Angeles for, I'm trying to think how many years, I guess it was 7 years taking every class, every workshop, just living and breathing, I've got to become a successful songwriter. After 7 years of banging my head against the wall and getting nowhere in Los Angeles, wanting to be a singer songwriter, not wanting to write for other people, I got a song recorded by an independent artist in Nashville. And the long story is that based on having that song reach a whopping number 63 on the charts, I had an opportunity to write with the producer of that song, who had had 6 number 1 country singles. Jason had written 1 country song. So here's what I did that I think is so important. What I did is get prepared for the session. I spent 2 weeks doing nothing but getting what I considered the best ideas, the best concepts, the best lines, phrases, melodic snippets, recording them all so that I could walk into that session with a splitting headache if that happened and be able to deliver something. For me, a lot of the lesson is preparation. I don't want to walk
Amazing.
into a writing situation and hope that I'm good that day. I want to know that under the worst circumstances, I can contribute something. Now, I teach, probably the most important thing I teach is that we have to get lucky, and we have to make a lot of our own luck by putting ourselves in situations that will lead to getting lucky. So when I was tired of eating cat food and living in one room in LA with no kitchen and no bathroom, I decided to start working temp jobs. And I got sent to a lot of entertainment jobs that were just ridiculous, nothing, filing for a radio station, or, doing typing or data entry for a television station. And then I got sent to RCA Records. It was only a 3-day gig. It opened me up. They put me in the country music promotion department, which I thought was like a punishment for something I had done in the previous life, because I thought country music was garbage.
Okay.
Flash forward, I wound up at RCA Records for about 8 years. Here's what I learned in the A&R department. Great voices, a dime a dozen. Just listen to any of the competition shows. So I would listen to these packages, and everybody was good voices, great looks, and I would have to write notes and send them to my boss. And I didn't get to sign acts, but I got to say, no, my boss does not need to hear this. And I'd go out to hear bands at night, and it was the same deal. I would write notes on the package or on the cover letter. And the most common thing that I wrote was great voice, great look, no songs. What did I mean by no songs? Of course, I didn't mean that they didn't have songs. It meant they didn't have great songs. They didn't have hit songs. And that, the song, the delivery of the song was more important than the voice. It was more important than the look or the packaging or anything else. Without a song underlying all of it, a song that was not only going to just burn its way into my brain, so after listening to 200 songs that day, I still can't stop thinking about that one. So I not only want it to burn into my brain, I want it to be something special, something unique, something that doesn't sound like everything else that's already on the radio. I can't count how many stage mothers would come up to me and say, my little girl sings just like Britney. And I would keep my mouth shut, but what I'd want to say is, well, I'm really sorry to hear that, because we already have a Britney. That what it's about
Yeah.
is being that unique thing. We didn't have a Britney before Max Martin carved out that sound. And, I think for artists, some people, I guess, are lucky that they know exactly who they are. But other artists, Shania Twain comes to mind. When she came to Nashville, she had previously been a rock singer, and she was a chameleon. She could sing anything. She wasn't a country singer. In that instance, with the help, of course, of Mutt Lange, after a completely failed album, she found who she was, that was the unique thing that we all think of if you think of Shania Twain. And so I urge artists to be really clear about who are you? What, are you vulnerable? Are you coming off as this sexy, I know I can control people with my sexuality kind of an attitude? Is it angry? Is it The point I'm making is you want this to be reflected in your songs, that there's no better way to express who you are as an artist than through your songs. Sometimes people put the songs, they think of it as being secondary. Oh man, I'm this great singer. I've got this incredible band. I've got this super production going on behind me. It doesn't matter if there's not a song, because I don't know anybody who walks down the street humming a voice or humming chord changes or grooves. It's got to be the song. People, work on your songs. I promise it's all the difference.
I want to make sure that people understand the point of what you were saying, which is you can sound incredible. Mind-blowing voices are a dime a dozen. You can turn on the TV even to this day and see them. You can also have an amazing and unique look, and so many people are, I would just argue to say, they're even better than they ever have been in the past at this current moment, based on all of the content and influences and things that people can see online to develop a look. So many people are doing that. The songwriting is the key point. And as a person who worked both on the inside on the A&R, as well as somebody who was also a songwriter, who is being very successful at doing that, which you have been, it's a really great perspective for someone to hear that both on the inside and on the outside of A&R, looking at both sides of the coin, knowing that the song is the most important thing to this day. That's really the point to drive home. And I think what people could look at in today's market is, if you are currently writing songs, currently making music, if you're submitting to A&Rs and things like that, I think that's wonderful. Try every angle you can. But in the digital landscape that we all currently live in, the metrics that people can look at was when they post a video of themselves.
Right.
I would say the pro tip could be focus on the songwriting. It doesn't maybe matter quite as much about what you look like or how incredible your voice is, but if you can be authentic, if you can be raw, if you can be transparent and really write music and record yourself filming that music and post that music and let the feedback come from the A&R that is social media, and see what people think about that on the internet. I think that's a really powerful bridge to kind of carry over from your story into how people might be able to get feedback today. And if you're getting positive feedback about your lyrics and your songwriting from people online, just know that there's a ton more people where those people came from. That's the gift that we get to experience today.
Let me jump in, Tim. I want to give 2 hot tips about the songs. It's like, it's great to say, oh yeah, you want great songs. How do you do that? The number one songwriter in Nashville today is a guy named Ashley Gorley. He has had, I think, 75 freaking number one singles. Now, he gave the best advice I have ever heard for lyric writing. He said you look over your lyric when it's done, and a line at a time, you ask yourself, could anybody else have written this same line this exact same way? And if the answer is yes, throw it out. Your point was perfect when you talked about, the social media audience is today's A&R. They're the ones making the decisions. We love this, we want to listen to it or not. And why should they listen to you if it sounds just like 1,000 other things? So I think
Yeah.
that's the best tip. Lyrically, melodically, I think a lot of people underestimate the importance of melody. If you ask me the top 3 reasons why songs become successful, there's not even a doubt in my mind. The top 3 in order would be melody, melody, and melody. You can get away with a song that doesn't have an amazing lyric if it has that killer melody. And it's funny, I write articles for BMI's magazines. They're at my website, jasonblume.com. They're free. I did an article just a week ago, but as part of my research, I needed to look at the lyric of Nirvana's Smells Like Teen Spirit. And I had honestly, in all the years of loving that song, I never read the lyric. The chorus lyric of that song makes no sense. It talks about albinos. It talks about mulatto. It's like, who the hell is relating to that? I am going to guess that in history, not one person has bought that Nirvana song because the lyric moved them so deeply. It was the melody. It was the chord changes, the emotions that song put across were so intense. I felt them. I didn't need to understand the lyric. That's the ticket. I'll convert the Ashley Gorley lyric analogy to melodies. If anybody else would have written that melody, throw it out. We want something that's just going to slay your listeners and make them choose you and your songs instead of anything else out there.
And share is the key word. So a few minutes ago, you said that the people that listen and watch on social media are the A&Rs, which in a big way, it's literal. It's sort of a metaphor, but it's very true, regardless of which way you chop it up. But the real A&Rs are looking at the audience and engagement of people's songs and how people respond to them online as a guide. So I think that's really fascinating. But the data, the metric to look at is one word you said, which is share with someone. And that's the number one thing that I think really works in today's world is this video, is this audio, is this something that when I hear it, I go, oh, I'm going to forward that to somebody or a few people. I'm going to click the share button and tap 5 or 6 names and forward it off to somebody. The metrics to really look at are, if I post something, how many people are actually taking the time to click the share button or click the bookmark button so they can come back and watch it later. Those are the things to look for. And I wouldn't be surprised if people took the advice you've given in terms of uniqueness and looking at songs from these different angles, and to see that if they did take time to create more intentionally in that way, that when they posted those new songs or parts of songs, we've been trying to encourage people, even make videos of your songwriting process and make posts about that. And, even prompt people, hey, finish the next lyric on this, write the next line for me in the comments, just engaging people in that way. I will give really great feedback to people on their process, and to know whether or not, the song that they've written or the song that they're in the process of writing has some shareability to it. And it can really be as easy as putting the camera in front of you while you pick on the guitar or play on the keys and say, hey, I've written 5 lines to this song. Here they are. boom, that's a video. I can put that out there and I can know within an hour, are people sharing this? Are people saving this? Are people engaging with me, leaving a comment and saying, hey, I love where this is going. What's this about? Asking questions, those types of things. So all of those pro tips that you included in there can be not only useful in the big picture, but in the sort of the micro view. I think it's just a really great way to, how can I iterate on a daily basis and get better at both the creative aspect of this, but also the feedback and shareability aspect of all this.
You were talking about sharing, reminded me of something one of my publishers said to me. He said, I want you to bring me reaction songs. I said, what's a reaction song? He said, a song that makes somebody take some kind of an action. They hear the song and they instantly have to share it. Or they hear the song and they instantly have to tell their friend, oh my God, did you hear that new song by so-and-so? You've got to hear this.
Yep.
Or if they want to call terrestrial radio and request the song, but something happens. You hear the song and it makes something happen. That's what a reaction song is. And it can be accomplished, melodically as well as lyrically. And again, Smells Like Teen Spirit is what comes to mind. That became a reaction song based on the melody.
So I think we've all had that moment where you hear something and you, oh my God, like, yeah, it hits you. It's like, just hits you in the face. You do want that, you want that impact on somebody. And there's a lot of different ways to go about that. But I think it's really to give people a more in-depth thing. So talking about AIM and some of the other songwriting techniques and classes and in-depth detail that you go into, all of those are on your website, jasonblume.com, correcto?
Correcto, but also on the website at the bottom of the first page, people can sign up to get a free weekly hot tip. And some of those tips, they're not just like a blog. I also include pitch opportunities, sometimes giveaways, whatever. And when you sign up for it, you get a 30-minute free video of the 3 things you must do for success. You want to, marry a publisher, have an affair with an A&R person. You get, the top 3 things.
Okay, so jasonblume.com, BLUME for spelling. And we're going to talk about one more thing before we get out of here. I want to hear some back and forth on identity in the aspect of being as a career. And I think a lot of people battle with this today. Am I a songwriter and I write for other people? Or am I an artist and performer, a singer-songwriter, a performer of some kind as well? Or am I both? I feel like there's a lot of confusion around which area to pursue and how would you know more effectively the answer to that question. I think it would be interesting to hear from you on your experience, plus how you would talk to artists about approaching that dilemma, or that, let's maybe make it a positive spin, that opportunity.
Yeah, it's a great issue, important to address. I have strong feelings about it. In my workshops, whenever I critique a song, or even if I do it on a private session, I always ask, what's your intention for the song? Because my comments are going to be very different if this is a song for your artist project versus if you say to me, no, I want this song recorded by somebody other than me, and I'll always say, like who? And they'll say, well, like Kelly Clarkson or whatever. And so I need to know the intention. And a lot of times the answer I'll get is, well, I'm writing for my project, but I would love other artists to record the song. And my answer to that is, Why is that not a good idea? Because your songs need to define who you are. If if you get a publisher or an opportunity to pitch your songs, you may have to pitch to 75 artists before you get a cut. And if you think that's an exaggeration, it's not. I
It's
had a song
not.
when I had a song go top 10 that had been rejected by more than 75 professionals or artists. If you're writing a song that is so generic that all these different artists could record it, it's not going to work, or it's unlikely to work for you as an artist because it's not going to be your distinctive, identifiable sound. I think that it is possible to do both, but not with the same song. Typically, I think you want to write songs for yourself if you have that drive and that need to be the artist. That's what I had. I didn't want to write for other people for a long time.
Yep.
But way back in the day when I was doing this, there was no such thing as YouTube or anything like that. My only hope was getting a major record label deal. Of course, it's completely different today. But back then, when I had been 28 years old for at least 6 years, it was too late. I was not going to
Sure.
get to be the next Justin Bieber, or the next Prince or George Michael or anything like that. When I was in my mid 30s, I was not going to get a deal doing that. I changed the way I wrote in order to target other artists. The songs I had written for me as an artist were not pitchable because they were me. And there were not a lot of me's out there at that point in time. So I think you need to really look at the feelings. What's going to make you satisfied? Are you going to be happy if other people
There
record
you
your
go.
song? Is that going to work? Or are you always
Yep.
going to have that nagging, God, I wish I were the artist?
I think you sum that point up killer right there at the end. Is what you write for yourself is something totally different than if you're pitching it to be a song for someone else that's going to perform. Nailed that. I want to add a different perspective. We're saying the same thing, but I want to add it like from a different context. Something that I've been sharing with people that I've gotten some feedback is really valuable is knowing who you are. And I don't mean that in the sort of like deep, like, where did we come from kind of question, but really more about who are you as a person and what you want, how you want to live your life. And I think it becomes really simple for people to answer in this way. Do you want to be someone who is constantly in front of people performing live music and being out? Like, some people are drawn to the energy of performing in venues and touring and being on the road and being out in front of people in real life as many times as they can possibly get. I think the other is, hey, I'm actually a very introverted person. I don't like to be on camera. I don't really like to be in front of people that often. It scares me. It drains me, whatever the feelings are around it. But I love writing music and I love being in my room or my studio and I just like making things. I don't have to be a performer. So yeah, it's just, I think, a really good way to simply look at what gives me energy and what I align with the most. And that might be another way out of that pickle, right? So we covered a lot. We could obviously go another 20 on just that topic alone. I think there's plenty of great nuggets for us to get into. Let us end by, you didn't do this in the beginning, bullet point style, list off some of the biggest songs that you've written for which song and which artists. Hit me with a highlight list there.
For Britney Spears, Dear Diary, Back to Your Heart on the Millennium album by the Backstreet Boys. Change My Mind, which should have been called Change My Life. It was recorded initially by the Oak Ridge Boys, opened up the door for me to sign a staff writing deal, gave me the credibility I needed to do that. The same song, 5.5 years of rejections later, got covered by John Berry, Change My Mind, played on the doorbell of the house that it paid for. And I am not kidding. I had always said if I ever had a huge hit, I could like buy a house, it's going to play on my damn doorbell. And it did.
Oh my God, so, that's awesome.
Yeah.
That might be my favorite thing from this chat.
6 recordings by country star Colin Ray. I talked about the one I'm most proud of, which was called She's Gonna Fly. I had a chart single with a guy named Steve Azar on the country charts. I'm sort of blanking on some of the others, but I'll share 2 most recent ones. One was a K-pop song recorded by a band called Crossing Rain, based in Hawaii, and they were voted favorite artist of the year in an award show that is essentially like the Hawaiian Grammys. And my most recent cut is crazy, because you want to talk about persistence. 23 years ago, I wrote the song that was number 2 in Spain last week and also charted in the UK. The song's called, ironically, Nothing is Impossible. It was recorded by an older artist named Nikki French, who had represented the UK in Eurovision. And she is fantastic. It's a very dated thing that works for her. Now, switch to television and film. Scrubs, Friday Night Lights, Entertainment Tonight, Disney's First Kid, Disney's Kim Possible. I'm really proud by myself. I wrote the end credit song for the animated Barbie of Swan Lake movie. What I love about it is when the credits roll, it's all classical music. It's Swan Lake by Tchaikovsky. So when the credits roll, it says music by Peter Ilyich Tchaikovsky and Jason Blume.
That's awesome. Well, amazing. We'll have to get your ChatGPT story updated to say much more. JasonBlume.com, JasonBlume.com has all the articles and information about songwriting workshops, all the stuff, the teaching that you do. And all your stuff, or a lot of your stuff, is published on BMI. And you can look Jason up on ChatGPT now. We're going to get that thing up to date with the latest and greatest. We got to train it. Thank you so much for chatting with me. And I hope that we're able to help some people out, help some artists out.
I hope so. Thanks for having me, Tim. It was fun.